Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing me an opportunity to come and speak. I appreciate it. It's a double-edged sword, as you know, from past experience. I spoke yesterday, and afterward, a young lady came up to me and referred to me as Dr. Fury. And I just made eye contact with her, so I won't call her out. But, I tend to give very passionate pleas. I challenge, I poke. I have a core fundamental belief that no matter how good we are, we can always do better. And we have to always evaluate our own performance and challenge ourselves to do better. So I will probably offend some in here. I may inspire some, maybe. But I will equally challenge everybody. Because we are a very good institution. I think 20-year track record. We've seen some great research, great researchers. And we've seen some great students graduate from this program. But I always believe we can do better. So I will challenge and prod as we go through my presentation. So if you don't like that, have a cup of coffee, try to put up with me. But I will challenge you. I'm here today to speak for a few moments about our 30-year strategy. As an organization, we've put a lot of effort over the last 9 to 12 months into laying out where we believe technology is going over the next 30 years. We've done a great deal of work to do that and lay that out, and it's crucially important to us so that we can gauge where we are going and what we are trying to achieve. That then gives us a basis to make our decisions, what to invest in, who to partner with, and where to lay our money and our resources in order to achieve the objective we're trying to achieve. I think it's also very important from a partner perspective because those who have an interest in collaborating with us now have a means of looking and understanding and reading and interpreting what we think the future looks like for the United States Army and where we are going. It allows us to have an active collaboration, an active dialogue, so people can challenge us. So we have put a lot into articulating where we're going. The presentation just laid out from a state perspective, it resonates with me. Because it means a lot to me, and it tells me a lot about an organization that's willing to do that. Willing to put the hard work into predicting the future, laying it out there, and then stepping out in front and taking the feedback and the criticism. It's hard to predict 30 years. It's hard to predict 3 years. But if you don't do the hard work and try to lay that out, then you are literally making decisions with a curtain in front of your face. And that has proven to be less than effective. So we've put a great deal of effort into this. Am I getting an intermittent transmission? No, it's working? Okay. We put a great deal of effort into it. We've laid it out, and it now gives us an opportunity to come to you and engage with you. And everything I present here has a face at TARDEC behind it. A subject matter expert, a researcher who has a passion and an interest in that field and who is actively working on the basis of those topics. So I will hit the wave tops, but rest assured there's somebody behind me that's doing the detailed work and planning. And that's where we have to bring you in if you have an interest and connect you through the Chief Scientist's office with those people. So without any further delay, let me jump into the next slide. For those, many of you are familiar with TARDEC, but for those who are not, here's our mission statement. We are DoD's Center of Excellence for ground vehicle systems, both manned and unmanned. We are responsible for a vast amount of the science and technology investment within DoD for the advancement of the capability for ground systems. So as I get into some of the thrust areas, you'll see how that is articulated down into our strategy. And if you've been part of the automotive community, it's going to look very familiar to you. We have a vision, and that's to be the first choice of technology and engineering expertise across our domain. So we want to be that entry point for academic interests, the entry point for industry to bring advanced technology so that we can demonstrate their maturity and demonstrate their operational value to the Army early on, reduce the risk, reduce the costs ultimately to the military, and then transition that technology into programs of record so it eventually falls in the hands of soldiers. And at the end of the day, everything we do is for this bumper sticker on the bottom. We are serving a higher calling. We're not motivated by profit. We're not motivated by sales. We're motivated at the end of the day, and it's sometimes hard to get a direct measure, but we're here to support the warfighter and allow them to be more effective, more efficient, and a greater probability of coming home in one piece. A lot of our strategy work first starts by trying to understand where we believe the future is going from a very large global perspective. And there are many documents to draw from. There's a national military strategy that gets published by Department of Defense and is based on where the administration believes they're going. It's based on what we see the threat situation being around the world, the stressors, the friction points, the hot zones, the areas where there could be significant turbulence. We have to plan for everything from major combat operations, which people tend to associate our military with purely. That is the most stressing case for our soldiers and our equipment. But the highest probability and the most activity we have worldwide is humanitarian relief. And as you look at the activities in the Pacific, and if you listen and pay attention to where the military focus is, you know, we have a global focus, but we have a growing emphasis in the Pac Rim. A majority of our engagements in the Pac Rim will not be combat operations. It'll be supporting humanitarian relief. So as we prepare to respond to those emergencies and those needs to ease human suffering, we have to take that into account as we look at our platforms and our investments and our technology needs. So we have a very dynamic environment that we must plan for and must understand so that we can provide the tools and equipment to our soldiers to be most effective. So we look across many, many sources for documents, and these are only some of them, and we try to understand where we believe the interests are going and the demand is going for our future ground vehicle systems. And there's three fundamental areas that pop out that are specific to the interests of TARDEC, and they are listed here. So the bottom line, we must be more expeditionary. We must be autonomy-enabled and leverage the benefits of autonomy-enabled systems. And I purposely don't say robotics. It's autonomy-enabled. So how do we augment and enable the soldier to be more effective? How do we ease their cognitive or physical burden? That's what we're looking for. So it's a continuum where it's some of the stuff very representative of what the auto industry is doing for safety and operation in automobiles. It's from that side all the way up to ultimately taking the soldier completely out of the ground vehicle system. So there's a continuum that we're investigating and working, but we don't see it as just robotic platforms. That would be an end state that would be desired, but that is far down the road. We are looking to augment human performance and make sure that they're more effective and more able to do their mission. And then the third thing is more efficient. We spend a great deal of time and energy and resources supporting the deployed force, providing them water, providing them food, providing them fuel. So there's a great deal of interest to investigate the technologies and the capabilities that would allow us to be more efficient in doing that. Lower fuel consumption, the ability to produce water at the source rather than move it halfway around the world, just as easy examples. But it goes down into the reliability of our systems and the sustainment of our systems and lessening that burden on the soldier. So there's many different aspects. These are very simple terms, very high-level terms, but as you decompose them, it becomes very, very complicated or broad in the definition of each one of these terms. So there's incredible opportunity in each one of them. But these are the three that are most important to TARDEC in the focus that lines with our strategy. So this is the 3 fundamental attributes of our future force. And you'll see that as you get into our strategy and you talk to the investigators and you talk to the researchers, you will see that these are fundamental to where we're going and what we're trying to do. There's also 11 persistent top challenges for the Army. They're listed up here. And what's important is that we map as an organization to 7 of them. So DoD, Army, persistent challenges for technology, and this organization that I represent maps to 7 of them in different ways. That's important for us to understand. It's important for us to translate into, so what does that mean for a ground vehicle system? And ultimately, what does it mean down at the research level as we look at the fundamental technologies or modeling and simulation tools necessary to be more effective in delivering those capabilities? And they are listed here. So these help, again, shape our strategy and our environment in which we're working. So taking all of that input and putting all the time and energy in trying to understand the strategic environment and what it means to us, we've used that as a basis to then start to dive down into our strategy and our technologies, our investment areas, our skills, our infrastructure, and understand how we have to change and where we need to focus over the next 30 years based on our view of the world today. And as was pointed out in the previous presentation, this isn't a one-time do it and then use it for 30 years. We are continually engaging and re-engaging and reassessing and taking new and evolving guidance and data as it comes out and reflecting back on our strategy and morphing it as necessary. So our 30-year strategy will always be out in front of us. So we are always re-engaging with that. But what we've come up with is a strategy that's fundamentally changing our decision-making internal. And it's helping us determine where to go. And it's based on 3 identified value streams. And I'm going to quickly just introduce them, but to really understand them, we'd have to spend more time on them. But the value streams were very purposely defined. Value stream number 1 is shaping requirements for future programs of record. When I say programs of record, that's a military term and a government term for an established program that's recognized by Congress and funded by Congress. So Abrams main battle tank is a program of record. And it has a long life cycle and resources applied to that program of record, as an example. So we have a responsibility as a science and technology community to work with our users, our military members, our training and doctrine command, who define how we're going to fight in the future, our operational construct, and the type of organizations we need to be successful on the battlefield. They have that mission. We have a very important role supporting them and helping them understand where technology can take them. What can be available to them from a technology perspective, a vehicle perspective, and how will that affect the structure of the organizations that they're defining from a warfighting function. So a key aspect of the Army is a brigade combat team. So as they define that brigade combat team and decide how many people, what type of vehicles, what type of weapon systems, they need to understand how the future is changing. So they right-size those forces and they identify the technologies that those forces will need over time. So again, it tends to be very complicated, and I'm oversimplifying just to describe it, but hopefully the point is getting across. So as they are looking to the future on how to size the force and what type of units we need, they have to be informed by where technology is going. So within our first value stream 1, we are looking at the requirements and shaping the requirements for ground vehicle systems out into the future. And we are working with our partner at the Training and Doctrine Command so that they are part of the process. They are helping us define the vehicles and the capabilities, and we are helping inform them so that they are shaping the force effectively. So we are in that do loop with them, and they are our main transition partner as we look to where we believe technology will take us from a capability perspective into the future. Our value stream 2 is where we are working with the local acquisition community. where they are taking those current programs of record like Abrams main battle tank, and they're trying to determine what technologies can they introduce on that platform to keep it up to date and relevant for the current fight and for the next generation of wartime needs. So we are introducing them to the technologies that are mature today that they can integrate onto those platforms today to keep them the most effective combat platforms in the fight today. So that's what we're doing within our value stream 2. Within value stream 1, or value stream 3, half of my organization provides engineering services and support to the acquisition community. So if you look at my business model and my top line, half of my money comes for science and technology investment. The other half of my money comes from customers. And I'm a customer-oriented organization. I compete for work with customers. And I bid and propose and I win jobs. So half of my top line is based on that business model. And in order to do that, I have to have the best people. I have to have the best tools and the best facilities so that I am the best choice for them as they make decisions on who to provide their resources to support their programs of record. So I am in a competitive environment within that value stream. As I go through this presentation, you will see that further down, maybe into the future, the work you're doing today helps set me up to be that preferred choice. It gives me the tools and the capabilities and the knowledge to be the best value for that customer base. So you are a very important part of establishing and securing my funding line and half of my investment. Okay, so I have these 3 value streams. Now, I have technology investments across major programs, technologies, fundamental technologies, and just think of them as the ground floor on this building. So I have investment in batteries, engines, transmissions, track, road wheels, suspension, armor, active protection technologies, robotic systems, the vision, the perception, the intelligence. You can go across everything that makes up a vehicle system. I have fundamental investments in those technologies. As we roll those technologies up, we map them to these value streams. So our investment in energy storage, such as battery systems, are just as applicable to the future requirements where we think future vehicles are going as it is to current systems. So we are looking at how those technologies map into these 3 value streams. Okay, now fundamental to all of this is that I have a strategy that will direct and pace technology and lay it out into the future. You know, key aspects of our discovery, development, demonstration, and transition of that technology. Hopefully today as I walk through, you'll get the appreciation of how you fit into that process and how the work you're doing not only maps to these future requirements and the leading edge of technology, but it's also crucial to the vehicles of today. And it's also crucial to providing me with the expertise and the tools, and when I say me, it's the TARDEC community, the expertise and the tools to make sure that we are providing the best engineering support and services to our customer base. So, again, I don't want to offend anyone, but research for research's sake has no interest to me. Research that I can map to my strategy and I can show 5, 10, 15, 30 years down the road how it's going to pay off for me in my business, that's of critical value to me. So if you understand where we're going as an organization, you can then come back and engage us very purposefully. And you can help us understand and articulate how what work you're doing contributes to the success of our organization and ultimately to the success of our warfighter. And that's a very important part of our dialogue. I know your time is incredibly important. I don't want to waste a minute of it. Our time is incredibly important. I don't want to waste a minute of it. So if we can help understand the strategy, convey the needs of our strategy, and we can have very purposeful dialogue and discussion on very specific points, I think that helps both of us be more effective in the use of our time. So I encourage you as we go along, grab the TARDEC people, poke at them, prod at them, get insights into where we're going from a strategic perspective so that you can be very purposeful in how you engage with us. And this is going to be very important for the ARC. and its success going into the future. Okay, next slide. So what I want to do is just highlight some of the thrust areas. So within each value stream, we have specific thrust areas identified, and these are just some of them, the ones I think are most relevant to this community. So within value stream 1, again, that's looking at future capabilities, future programs of record, defining where we think we can go from a technology perspective that has ultimately operational relevance to the warfighter. And these are our 4 thrust areas. And you can take a look at them and read across. I will just touch each one very briefly. The first, let me start from this side, autonomy-enabled systems. Again, I'm not talking robots. I think that takes a very sophisticated topic and it makes it trivial. We are not talking robots. We are talking about using autonomy to enable a soldier. And it could be purely from having a driver function so they can divert their attention to some other activity while the vehicle continues to safely operate down the road, but they can immediately come back and do the more stressing functions, such as backing up, believe it or not, doing K-turns, operating in very tight confined spaces. It could be that simple. Or it can be optionally manned as you work down the continuum, where at certain points in time, certain missions, certain environments, you can take the soldier completely out of the system, and for that specific mission, the system operates without a human person in it. Or you can have the manned-unmanned teaming, where the person gets out, but the vehicle still supports them and augments them in whatever task they're doing. So those are the continuum. And then ultimately we can get to, we don't even have to waste time and money and energy on force protection and building a cab on a vehicle, because we have an autonomous vehicle that is designed purposely to be completely autonomous. So it's a continuum, and we are investigating many aspects of it. If you go on and you do a Google search on AMAS, AMAS, that's a program we're working right now. It's very, very successful. It appears to be transitioning into the Army, and based on some key decisions happening over the next month or two, it may become a program of record because of the demonstrated maturity of that system. So we are actively working through that process now. But autonomy-enabled systems are a capability today that the Army needs to pull in and start using. There are longer-term technology aspects to it, but it's a capability today, not just technology. And we're working through that. Energy efficiency and powertrain. We have investments in 2-stroke opposed piston engines. We're working with AVL here and a small company called Acades in San Diego, and we have a significant investment in developing a military-specific engine solution. One that specifically addresses our needs and doesn't carry some of the extra concerns that a commercial engine has to deal with. So we have a specific investment there. 32-speed transmissions. We have a significant investment in 32-speed transmissions, both for medium class, and medium class for us is 40 tons, or the heavy systems, which again for us is 70 to 80 ton vehicles. So we're looking at transmissions. We're looking at integrated starter generators. We're looking at energy storage. We're looking at cooling fans. We're looking at radiators. Anybody who knows vehicle propulsion knows the art is in the cooling system and the proper integration and airflow so that the system doesn't collapse under its own thermal weight. So we have aspects of our investment across the board for more efficient systems. The other area, thrust area, is protected mobility. So it's not just the force protection, the armor, the active protection, the laser protection, fire suppression, all those technologies from a protection perspective, but it's tied in with the mobility. So we cannot compromise the mobility of the system by making it too heavy with our armor solutions. So it's that optimization across that paradigm of force protection and the mobility of the system that we're working. And there's many aspects of the research within that. And then our final area is in the Value Stream 1 is ground system architectures. We are looking at modular systems, and these are physically modular, as you can see in some of the pictures where we are looking at different cab constructs. We're looking at systems that are physically modular, so you can put different mission packages on the same chassis can be a troop transport, it can be a command and control vehicle, it can be a weapon platform, it could be a medical transport, it could be a medical evacuation, so it can serve many functions. You have a common chassis, you have modular systems on the back. And we have active research and development going into this. That's the physical modularity, and then you can get down into the electrical modularity and the data modularity and the ability to introduce technologies over time without having to go into a major refit and rebuild of the vehicle platform. So you have the interfaces defined, and you can seamlessly and more easily introduce the advanced technologies into our systems. It's a very important timestamp to recognize. The M1 Abrams main battle tank was first fielded in 1981. It is projected to still be here in 2050. So the main platform, now it has gone through many life cycle and life changes over that time frame, and it will continue to. But the base platform is here for almost 70 years. So our life cycle, think about it, modularity is key. If you have to bring that vehicle system back every 8 to 10 years and completely tear it down and completely build it up in a very formal process, that's very expensive. If we can introduce modularity so that that vehicle can morph over time as technology changes, that offers us a significant cost savings. So modularity across the board, from physical, electrical, excuse me, the propulsion system, it offers us great opportunities and changes possibly our business case. So we are looking at modularity across the platform. And then underpinning all of this is the advanced modeling, simulation, systems engineering tools. And the ARC falls right in line with this. In order to really achieve these things, we have to be able to take advantage of our computing capacity, our modeling simulations, the physics-based modeling, trying to get away from some of the empirical-driven decision-making that we have to do because we don't have the models, the physics-based modeling yet. So we have a significant interest in making sure that we are continuing to invest in these areas and creating the tools that allow us to make the right decisions, both engineering decisions and business-based decisions. Running a little long, huh? Yeah, okay. So let me speed up here, getting into the good part, and I'm going to flash through it. So we have the strategic thrust areas, which you saw on the previous chart, that align to the two principal value streams that I think the ARC touches directly. For each one of them, we've broken down some research needs. And we've identified the research needs, and we've mapped them back to those strategic thrust areas. What I want to ensure you is that behind every one of these topics is a person. So there's a person at TARDEC with a specific interest in each one of these areas. If you have an interest in it, you have a value proposition to make, we need to link you up with that individual. And they need to have the dialogue with you so you truly understand where it is we're going over the next 30 years within each one of these areas. And some of them you'll see here through this meeting, and others we'll have to link up. So the Chief Scientist's Office is your entry point to make sure you have that connection. But these are our interest areas, and I won't go into any of them right now for interests of time, since I'm running late already. Our acquisition strategy, how are we going to fill these needs? The ARC is one of those ways of filling it. You can look at it, SBIRs, STTRs are another way of doing it. Other research interests. I already mentioned over and over again, we have researchers behind every one of those topic areas. Those researchers have innovation grants, they have support and resourcing available to them. Sometimes it's very little, sometimes it's only their time. Other times they have significant budgets behind them. And they fall across that continuum. But we have researchers mapped to each one of them. They have innovation money available, they are working it actively, so to engage and create those collaborations, to bring your time and your talent to bear and help them is a very important part of our ability to accelerate and achieve our objectives within our strategy. What we have laid out today in our 30-year strategy, if we are effective, we should be able to accomplish in 10 to 15 years. Those things we have already defined. Again, the 30-year strategy will continue to morph. But I believe we will achieve and far surpass what we have defined today as our 30-year interests. So you can look through here. There's many different ways to collaborate. And there are opportunities, I believe, through other organizations to do joint proposals. And we need to investigate those opportunities where we can go in as partners in proposals for basic research interests. We've mapped also some of the work being done at the ARC. Now this is where I come close to probably offending somebody. These are good, they're interesting, but are they the right ones? And as we continue to work and refine our strategy, I need to ask the ARC leadership and the ARC principals to really take a look at what they're researching and be open-minded to possibly changing it and adjusting its direction and its outcomes to make sure it delivers purposeful outcomes within our strategy. The other one, you showed the chart with the names. There's no government presentation that is above being scrubbed of content that makes it relevant, right? Our process for screening things. So I had to take all the names of people off because it was inappropriate to have their names. So thank you for showing their names.
We did it too.
Yeah, we worked around the system somehow. So it's a success story. But again, for risk of offending people, it's a success story, but it's a partial success story for me. The research is interesting, but the most valuable thing you produce is the student. And when that student comes out and joins my workforce, that is success. If they go and they work for the auto industry, no offense to anybody here. If they go and work for the auto industry, great. But I've just lost a lot of intellectual knowledge. I've lost potential. If I can recruit them in, if I can attract them in, that is the true win. Because now they bring all that experience that they gained from the academic institutions that are represented here, whether it's Clemson or U of M or any of the others. Now they're bringing that passion, that knowledge, that hands-on experience I call bloody knuckle experience, where you fight through it yourself. You didn't read a research paper, you did it yourself. They are coming into my organization, they're bringing that with them. So, huge success, but again, my selfish interests, I want 400 over here and 10 over here. Okay? Purposeful university investment in your time is money. You want to do research. I want you to be successful. Our time is money. We need to advance the state of the art to help our warfighters, so I want that engagement to be purposeful. So we need to continue to leverage this forum. We need to continue to have conversations along our interests with our strategy and where we're going and our gaps and where we're going to be applying our resources. And we are prepared to do that in this forum and many others. And we leverage heavily smart scholarships. If you're an academic, if in academia, you have students, a smart scholarship. If you're not familiar with it, it's fantastic. PhD candidate gets all their bills paid for, plus they get $35,000 a year spending money. You don't have to worry about how you're funding them. They are paid for by DOD if they get accepted into that program. So we are actively looking at that list. We're actively recruiting off of that list. We are picking people. So if you're a professor, get your students to apply to the SMART program. Align them with TARDEC, and we will be looking for them. We look at whoever picked TARDEC as their principal point of interest, and those are the ones we make offers to, because they have an interest in being in this region. So she just gave me the signal for the third time. So I'm in an academic institution. I don't follow rules, okay? You can't force me to do anything. So. Okay, so intern opportunities, we have an announcement out right now, opened up. We have 18 intern slots available. So students who are graduating, we are actively seeking and hiring them right now today.
4 are coming from us.
4 are coming from you. From U of M?
U of M.
Okay, Clemson. We're at Clemson. Come on, they give me 4, you got 5. Going for 5. 5. Virginia, 6. Anybody? Okay. That's good. That's good. Thank you. That's success. Okay. So with that, you wanted me to stop. Okay. Many different ways of contacting us, but through the Chief Scientist's office is the best way to get in. They have a crosswalk of all our researchers. against our strategy, against the topics you saw. They have that mapped all out. So when you come in and say, I have an interest in topic X, they should be able to very quickly tell you, go talk to Joe. And here's his contact information. Okay, with that, I will stop. Thank you for your patience.